What's up, YouTube? It's Australia Duel Masters here, and today we have a special treat for you all. We're continuing our podcast series, and what better way to kick it off what a better way to kick off the second episode than hosting none other than Jason from the Gauntlet. If you don't know Jason's Duel Masters channel, the Gauntlet is the largest active Duel Masters channel, and he is always putting incredible Duel Masters content out, ranging from DM plays to deck profiles to mail days to duel vlogs. If you haven't already checked out his channel and given him a subscription, definitely do so. And I'll be leaving a link to his YouTube channel. Well, it's a true privilege, Jason, to have you on the show, and I'm thrilled to spend a little bit of time with you tonight. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. And that was a very kind introduction. I appreciate that. So glad to be on here.
No worries, man. It's just really a privilege to have you on the show and get to know you a little bit better. So happy New Year as well, man.
Yeah, happy New Year.
Yeah, what's on the horizon for the Gauntlet in 2022?
Oh, jumping straight into the good stuff, eh? So for the Gauntlet, we have a whole new set of deck profiles, TCG deck profiles planned. So if you remember last year, or if you were tuning in last year, we released a bunch of deck profiles under the banner or brand TCG Revamped, where we, fixed up a bunch of our old decks on the channel. And this year, we're looking to come up with a bunch of new decks, at least new in the sense that we haven't covered them before. So that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic, man. Are we able to get a little bit of a sneak peek into what we can expect, or is it a surprise?
Okay. So yeah, sneak peek sounds good. We really thought it would be fun to tackle some of the internet favorite decks. Stuff like Warlord Elzonius, maybe even Hydro Hurricane. Those sort of decks might be fun to do. And there are a couple of other, I don't know if it's like too vain to say Gauntlet creations, but we have a variation of a dark water nature beatdown deck with Fighter Dual Fang. I'm not sure if it's going to be out by the time this video is released, but that deck's pretty cool. And we also have Balisk Baj on the horizon as well.
Oh, awesome, man. That sounds really, really exciting. I actually have a Warlord Elzonius deck, and Lewis, one of his favorite decks is the Hydro Hurricane. So it'll be interesting to see how your build compares to ours and see the differences. And Balisk Baj is actually something that Lewis was wanting to build as well. So yeah, it sounds like we can be in for a treat with your channel this year, man. It sounds like you got a lot of good stuff coming up.
Yeah, thank you for that. I sure hope so. And as per usual, we also have a bunch of Duel Masters plays. Andrew's been really onto that, and we just have a lot of fun hopping on and recording some of our games.
Yeah, nice one, man. So for those who are listening and don't know, what was the meaning behind you guys choosing to name your channel The Gauntlet?
So this is a question that people sometimes bring up, but I don't think we've ever addressed it in like a video or something like that. No. So the Gauntlet first came about when Andrew, myself, and another one of our Duel Masters friends, we call him Other Jason, we were just playing, and basically whenever we come up with a new deck, what we do is we try to see if it's worth keeping by playing it against some of our other existing decks. And if it's able to win a fair share of those, we keep it. And we called that process running a deck through the Gauntlet. So
yeah, right.
We just basically kept that.
Okay, that's incredibly creative, man. I like that. That's and thanks for the context, because I'm sure, a lot of your subscribers have probably always wondered what it stands for as well. So it's some good context.
So I think it's fun. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you go, man. You go.
I was just thinking, I feel like a lot of people might think it's from the Avengers, because when we play Duel Masters plays, we refer to the different colors of mana as our Infinity Stones, and then Thanos' Gauntlet. But no, it's not from that.
Well, yeah, I was probably guilty of that assumption as well, man, to be honest. So there you go.
Fair enough.
So what's the local DM scene like in New Zealand? And do you guys have anyone to duel outside of the guys who contribute to your YouTube channel?
So no, the short answer of that is no. I know there are some communities in Europe which are very lucky. There are a bunch of people there who like play. But for us, it's just mainly Andrew, Damien, and myself, the people who work on the channel who play. We have an extended group of friends who used to play Duel Masters in school. Sometimes we play with them. But I guess now would be a good time to shout out some of the other members of the New Zealand DM community, if you can call it that. I have a friend named Jabbo who lives in Wellington. I live in Auckland, and he and his friend Billy play Duel Masters together. And there's also another guy in Christchurch, I think it is, and he sometimes hooks me up with deals when he gets his hands on some cards and he has spares that he doesn't need. But yeah, it's very fragmented, for lack of a better term, in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It definitely sounds like there's a potential to get something going. I mean, probably the best way to do that is just create a central duel day and spread the date and time and location and see who shows up, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. So, what is it that keeps you guys interested and engaged in the card game that died in 2006?
So we've kind of had an on and off again relationship with Duel Masters.
Yeah.
Um, we were playing. I guess like if we're going from the original run, we started in about 2006 or 7. That's just when it was popular in school, and then we stopped at around 2009. And then in 2012 or 2013, we started playing again casually. Andrew, myself, and other Jason. And then I think in like 2017, we just randomly decided to start playing Duel Masters again. And that's actually when I put up my very first deck profile, because I was very inspired by Earth Power's videos. I just thought they were so
Yeah.
cool, and
Yeah.
I wanted to, do my own.
No.
And I think it was around the time Duel Masters Plays came out, or shortly before, where Andrew and I were like, this is actually fun, like running a YouTube channel. Why don't we try to, just do our best, put stuff out consistently, and see how far we can get? And it's just continued ever since.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, yeah, like I was saying before, your channel is definitely an inspiration for so many out there, and you guys have really grown your channel significantly in such a short time span as well, which is pretty incredible. So, what was it that captivated you guys to start creating your videos? Was it that you wanted to spread, I guess, the game of Duel Masters to the wide internet, or just for a hobby, or?
Mm. Um, I I guess going back to Earth Power, I just thought that, what he was doing was really cool. And eventually, he stopped making videos and moved on to other things. And I was thinking, well, the DM Reborn forum is still semi-active. And that to me suggests that there are still people who are interested in this game. And I thought, okay, let me step in, sort of like in a tribute to Earth Power of sorts. I'll do videos like he does. But once we got started, I realized that I just really enjoyed the creative process of making videos. Looking back, some of our earlier videos are not the highest quality, but it's just really fun putting videos together. Sometimes I feel like I have more fun making the videos rather than actually playing Duel Masters. But yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
no,
it just combines two interests.
can definitely relate to that. It's definitely a lot of fun creating content for the game, and yeah, it's been pretty encouraging to see lately that there's been quite a lot of content from, like you mentioned before, so many different countries. It's nice to see that it's got a special place in people's heart across the world, I suppose.
Yeah, because I remember when I was talking to Dark Signer about it, he was saying in Germany they have a player base of like 20 plus people or something to that, somewhere in that ballpark. And even though that doesn't sound like a lot, I think that's just super cool that there are enough of them to sort of like run a tournament. And
Yeah,
I think we tuned into the Finnish national championships a couple weeks ago. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
super cool.
Fidelio, I think that was. That was. extremely epic. 12 hours of just Duel Masters content. I think
Yeah.
it finished up in Australia. I think the time was around 6 a.m. So it was pretty much an all-nighter, but it was definitely worth it. So I guess what's your favorite deck that you guys have created? And it can be outside of the channel as well, like all-time favorite.
Ooh, that's a tough question. I had a feeling that you would ask something like this, but then I didn't prepare for it. Favorite deck, me personally, would be Rub Control or Volmedius Control. Just that kind of like old school deck that focuses on Volmedius and Baz. To us, that's just the way we like to play Duel Masters. It's really cheap in that you can abuse some card advantage really hard, but it still doesn't delve into the, I don't want to say degenerate territory, but like looping Soul Swab and spamming it over and over again. That I think is where I draw the line. But yeah, when we recently revamped it, I felt like, putting in a bunch of chargers and Blizzard of Spears as the board clear, I felt like that was a real breakthrough for the deck, in my opinion. And it's the same deck pretty much that I played in high school. So it has a bit of sentimental value as well.
Yeah, nice, man. I mean,
if I could also jump in, and there's a second answer to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the Fire Nature Dragon deck that we put out last year with Valerica and Uber Dragon Bajula.
Yes.
Just because we spent so much time, like over the course of our lives, like years, trying to make Bajula work, and it just nothing ever like stuck. And we feel that that version of the deck was kind of like a big breakthrough for us. It's actually very functional. You kind of just go all in on Valerica. If you can stick it and get the Bajula out, you pretty much win. And
100%, man. And to be truthful with you there, I actually built that deck based off your YouTube video. And I can tell you it is definitely playable. And it was a lot of fun to play as well, man. And you're right. If you can get the Valericas out, it's pretty much GG. Your opponent doesn't have much answers once you get to that point. But it's definitely playable and it's definitely fun as well, that deck. So it was very creative.
Oh boy, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Every time I do a deck, every time we do a deck profile, we're like, you should try this out and let us know. And no one ever lets us know. Everybody gives their analysis in the comments, but it's nice to actually get feedback from someone who's played the deck.
Yeah, well, dude, I'll have to give you more feedback more often because I often like to try the decks that you guys put up on the channel. And I love watching your deck profiles, man. They're honestly a highlight for me.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say.
That's all right, man. So what's the coolest Duel Masters related item that you own that's not card related?
Ooh, that's not card related.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a tough question.
I guess I'm going to expose myself as a bad fan because I don't think I own any non-card related DM items. So
that's all good, man.
I guess three answers here. So the playmats, they're not technically cards, but they're card related. The ones we got printed a while back with like the phoenixes and stuff. I think those looked pretty cool.
Absolutely.
The envelope that Diabolical Drew sent us, that's definitely one of the coolest items.
Yeah.
I still kept it because he addressed it to the Gauntlet. And I was like, this is so cool.
That was awesome, hey.
And that's kind of like our first gift from somebody who we didn't know personally. So that was really nice.
Yeah.
And I guess I also received an email recently from one of the viewers of the channel, and we like DM Plays, and he basically took our favorite cards from DM Plays and he gave them English text, and it was a really great Photoshop job or whatever editor he used, and he was like, hey guys, thanks for the content, here's some like art for you. And I was like, man, this just makes my day. It was Jick and Hello Panda, the Dreammate. So I really appreciate that.
That's really cool. That's really cool. It's always nice to get fan mail.
Yes.
Um, I recently had someone reach out to me from, where were they from? I actually think from memory they were from New Zealand, and they'd been
Hmm.
hunting down a super necro dragon. Oh, what's the name? Abzodolba. And
Yep.
would just reached out to me saying, "Oh, do you happen to have a spare one?" And believe it or not, I actually don't even have one in my
Hmm.
collection. But I just was able to give them some advice on how to track one down. And, in this day and age, the eBay market can be quite bare and barren. So you have to kind of think outside the box. And yeah, so it's nice to just know, hey, someone's reaching out for some advice as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Was he
yeah.
able to get his Abzodolba?
No, not yet. I don't think they have, believe it or not. They might even be listening to this podcast. And if you did manage to get it, comment it below. But the last I heard from them, they hadn't found one yet. So, yeah, interesting, though.
Hmm.
Interesting that you hear from all kinds of people.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Jason, what are your hobbies outside of Duel Masters?
Outside of Duel Masters, I play a lot of, I used to play a lot of Super Smash Brothers Melee on the Nintendo GameCube.
Oh, nice. Classic.
There's, believe it or not, there's a whole competitive scene for the game, and I've actually flown over to Australia a couple of times in the past to play in tournaments.
Oh, wow.
Not so much these days, but yeah, it's just one of those cult classic games, sort of like the Duel Masters TCG.
Yeah, nice, man. Didn't realize they had tournaments for that. That's pretty incredible.
And outside of that, I really like Star Wars and Marvel. I'm sure a lot of eagle-eyed viewers, or I guess listeners, I should say, they might pick up on some of our memes, Star Wars and Marvel memes. So yeah, I love
Yeah,
those too.
nice one, man. Nice one. Did you guys hear about the international tournament that's going to be held in Finland by the Duel Masters Finland crew next year if COVID settles down?
I didn't come across that announcement. I do remember seeing one similar to that a couple of years ago, which the which COVID sort of ruined or got
Yeah,
in the way of. But yeah, it's not surprising to me that they're trying again. I think they're a great community, so it would be cool if they were able to make it happen.
yeah. So the question is, would you potentially attend that event?
I don't know if I'm going to be in a position to do that just because Europe is very far away.
Yeah, it
but
is. We're literally on the other side of the world, aren't we? So isolated from everyone and everything.
But in saying that, it would be cool to visit Europe. Never say never, but I would say if I'm being
Justin
honest,
Bieber.
it's unlikely.
Yeah, no, we can dream, can't we? And I mean, who knows if the timing's right, we might end up getting over there. And that'd be a pretty special experience, especially to vlog it for the YouTube channel or something like
Yes,
that.
that is so true.
Be the most epic video I think I would have ever seen. And getting to meet that crew as well would be pretty awesome too.
Yeah.
So also we have some dual days and stuff here in Australia. And we like to try and record our matchups and things like that. But I guess to the point, would you guys be interested in attending one of our dual days here in Australia or something like that, maybe sometime down the track?
I think going to Australia to record a dual day is much more likely. Sometimes there are just really good airfares. So, why not? I think it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely,
So
man.
it's something that we would definitely look into.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool because I mean we I think the last dual day we had six people attend. A couple who couldn't attend, and we had someone interstate, Tem, who's a subscriber and a good friend of mine, and also Drew, who was meant to attend because of COVID. It kind of got in the way, but
Yeah.
we could end up having 7 to 8 people here, and then with you guys, that would make probably close to 10. So we could probably have some sort of a mini tournament or something cool for the YouTube community to upload.
Yeah, for sure.
Not to mention, it'd be pretty cool to meet you guys as well in person and all that.
Oh, stop it, you.
So I guess I probably missed the point earlier on. I was meant to ask you, sorry, what was your favorite civilization to duel with?
Oh, I don't think you did ask, but hmm, that's a very loaded question. You really
Yeah.
um I think it has to be one answer, right?
Well, my answer is light water. That's just what I prefer. I love the builds of light water and how it ticks and the mechanics of it. So you can have a dual civ answer if you want to.
All right, okay. That makes it a lot easier. I would say it's water nature. I just, draw lots of
Nice.
cards, ramp lots of mana. It's a good time.
Yeah, nice, nice. That's a solid answer. I guess as well, man. What's your favorite card? I should have asked that. That should have been the number one question.
Favorite card? I feel like my answer for this tends to change on a depending on my mood, but I
Yeah.
think the most consistent answer, especially given what we've referenced on our channel, is Illusionary Merfolk.
Yeah, nice. What do you like about that? The effect or the artwork or both?
I would say both, but mostly the effect. Um, we, of course, grew up in a time where Illusionary Merfolk was once considered a good card, with Emerald and
Yeah.
Corisle. I think these days it's not as good as we once thought, but its effect is just very satisfying to pull off, and 4K is no joke. It's pretty big,
Yeah. It's
and
hard to get over the top of.
yeah,
And
and
what other
and the
card can give you draw three? I mean, I'm sure there is a few, but not that I can think of off the top of my head.
yeah, and it
Actually,
also is
I lie,
yes.
Marino Mancer.
Yeah, Marinomancer. I think once we started figuring out how to best use Marinomancer, we were like, yeah, Merfolk's no good. But
Yeah, exactly. No, that's fair, man. So Lewis actually sent through a couple of questions to ask as well, and they're quite thorough. So good job, Lewis, with that. I know you'll be listening, but he says, we've noticed that you guys have created your own separate meta with your TCG revamped series. So he says, we're wondering if you've spent much time exploring the larger meta of sets 1 to 12 and if you've played in / considered playing in any IDC events.
all right.
There's a couple
So
of parts there.
yeah, so I think one of the things he mentioned was um have you spent a lot of time playing through sets 1 to 12? And the answer is definitely yes. I think all of the decks that we made encompassed, or most of them encompassed sets 1 to 12. I think a better way to go about answering the question is like just to give an insight to our creative process. And really,
Yeah.
what we do is we just take a card or a concept we like and we just try to push it as far as we can. Now, where that translates into the grander scheme of things, I would say our ideal metagame is IDC or / German Duel Masters tier 2 to 3. I think that ballpark is kind of like where all of our experimentation happens. And the main reason for that is because those are the tiers where I think a lot of strategies can work and be competitive or semi-competitive. Once you
Mhm.
start jumping into tier 1 territory, the decks are sort of built to be single player, and definitely kudos to the people who designed it. But it's just very difficult to make strategies work in that sort of environment, in my opinion. And
Yeah, no, that's fair, man.
and I guess jumping onto the IDC portion, we probably aren't going to compete in any IDCs just because the metagame doesn't look super fun. It's like heavy control, mana burn, or you have to,
Yeah.
rush super hard, and that's also not super interactive. So
Yeah,
I don't think I have the stomach for that. But shout outs
that's
to all the
fair.
players who are able to play those tournaments and the guys who run it. It's great for our community.
Oh, absolutely, man. But I think I'm like you in the sense that the amount of rush decks that compete in there was enough for me to go, oh, yeah, no thanks. But in saying that, I do love watching all the matchups when they upload them to YouTube, the German Duel Masters YouTube channel. It is awesome to see. And there's some surprising winners too. Like I remember a couple of not the one that was just gone, the one before that, there was an Uber Dragon Bajula control build that actually ended up winning, which was pretty interesting.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. I'll have to send you the link for that, man. But it was a couple of IDCs ago. I'm sure the German Duel Masters guys will comment on this video saying what it was or even put the link in. But yeah, an Uber Dragon Bajula control deck ended up like winning. So it was quite incredible.
Oh, very impressive. I
Yeah.
remember like when I watch their videos, I'm like, Fortress Shell, that's pretty neat. And then
Yes.
Hydro Hurricane. Phobos is like a really impressive creation because I think Dark Signer came up with that all by himself, or
Oh wow.
or I think he's the main guy for that deck. And yeah, I just wasn't expecting to see Uber Dragon Bajula. I must have missed it, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I do like the Fortress Burn build that they've got going on. It's pretty interesting because I remember before that, I know a lot of people had written the Fortress shell off because it was a 9 cost card. They're like, it's literally not playable. But these guys have found a way to make it a staple in this deck, and it's just incredible to see.
Yeah, and another really cool thing about that deck is that it plays 4 Civ, no fire, and it's a control deck.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
feel like it's tricky to make that particular combination work. So pretty
That's
cool.
a that's a good point, man. I actually didn't even think about that. But and the Sky Sword as well is just so broken. Just gives you a lifeline time after time.
And then you soul swap it, and then the opponent's like,
Yeah,
oh
exactly.
my gosh, what can I do now?
Yeah. So Lewis's second question, man, is we'd love to know where you guys go for your DM discussion online, and if you lurk in Yami Michael's Duel Masters Discord, since we've found that to be the most active hub for DM discussions outside of the IDC Discord during their events. So in essence, yeah, where do you guys go for your DM discussion online?
Oh, so we are actually fairly inactive in that regard. I'm a part of a few Discord groups. I'm in the DM Reborn Discord group, and
Oh
I'm
yeah.
in the IDC Discord group. Halfar reached out to me and he was like, "Do you want to join the Discord group?" And I'm like, "Sure." Most of the time we just sort of speak amongst ourselves because I guess the metagame that we operate in is kind of different to what other people are doing. But in saying that, sometimes I reach out to people, especially in recent times. I've been reaching out to people like Yami Michael and Dark Signer and Halfar, just asking them about certain decks and picking their brains a little bit. And they've been very nice and helpful with their comments.
Yeah, nice man. That's awesome. Now, I actually just thought of this now. How do you think the game would be different if DM13 Eternal Phoenix was released in English and we actually got that extra set to play with in English?
Mm. So this is something that we've also been thinking about, and I guess it's something that we want to tackle in the future, like a bunch of decks that use DM13 cards. So we've been talking amongst ourselves about, should we do that? Like, will people be interested? Is it worth it?
Oh, I'd be
Um,
interested.
I think DM13 makes certain decks in the tier 2 to 3 environment a lot more playable. I think in terms of if the game continued like back in the late 2000s, I think it would have made Bomb Bazaar a bit better because there's this card, Judgment of the Flames, Spear, and Water's Blade, and it's like Searing Wave but for both players, and you draw a
Oh,
card for
wow.
each creature you destroy. So a lot of OCG lists use that card in conjunction with Bomb Bazaar. So
Yeah,
they play
right.
like Mushroom, Bronze Arm, they ramp a bunch of mana, and then they nuke the board with Judgment, and then they just either set up a Lost Soul or rebuild their board and then do the Bomb Bazaar.
Yeah,
Um,
nice.
I think Asteria is also a game changer for Alcadius, Asteria and Alzesu. So these are angel commands that came out in set 13. Um, Asteria is like 5 mana, 6K. When your opponent draws a card outside of their draw phase, you can also draw a card. And
Oh
I think
yeah.
that can punish decks that try to spam weenies and draw cards and stuff like that, because
Yeah,
you can draw
nice.
as well. And
Nice.
Ozesu is when one of your, I think, angel commands attacks, you can destroy one of your opponent's tapped creatures. So that gives
Wow.
Alcadia the element of board control that it lacks in the TCG. So these are just some examples off the top of my head. I feel like you and
Yeah,
I could
nice,
talk
man.
about this for a while, but
Yeah, that's
I
all right.
think in the grand scheme of things, not too much would change at the top level, whether Bombazar meta or IDC meta. But I think in the further down the totem pole, you see a lot more strategies become viable.
Yeah, nice, man. Definitely a lot of food for thought with your answers there. Very methodical, which I like about you and your channel. You always explain things really, really well. So, no, definitely that'll get me thinking, that's for sure. Even I know our crew, so Lewis, Michael, and myself, we actually talked about printing off just some proxy cards from DM13, but printing them in English and just, trying to weave them into some decks that we've got and see, what works and what doesn't. Just as something interesting, interesting concept. But
Yeah.
going back to Bombazar, I mean, I have to ask you, man, what are your thoughts on Bombazar? Because I know the wider DM community hates Bombazar, but I'd just like to know, how you feel about Bombazar.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of Bombazar either. I think on paper, well, when they were first designing the card, I think I don't really blame them for going for the whole two-turn thing, but just because it's a very interesting thing to explore, and I assume not much research would have gone into it at the time. But I think the card is just way too good.
It really is.
There aren't enough drawback effects. Like maybe I don't know. I remember talking to Kelvin, another one of our friends, and Andrew about this, and we were like, how can we make Bombazar balanced without nerfing it to the point that it's unplayable? Um, I don't think we arrived at any conclusion, but yeah, I think it's no, it just ruins the game because I'm not sure if you would have talked to Yami Michael about this, but in Japan all those years ago, if you look through the era where Bombazar was printed and you look through what the best decks were, it's basically just Bombazar decks, and then you
Yeah.
might find some rush decks here or there. And then you would also notice that any deck playing nature and fire would also splash in Bombazar because why not, right? It's just
Yeah.
that good.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, no, I think with Bombazar, to my knowledge anyway, because I've got a Bombazar deck just for play testing, and we actually want to do a little series on YouTube, actually finding what can beat Bombazar and just trying a whole range of different decks and just throwing anything we can at it. And with our
Mm.
play testing so far, we've only done a little bit. The only thing that can really nuke it, like in terms of when you're trying to finish, is if you hit a surfer or you hit a holy orb. That's the only thing that can really throw your game off. Or if you don't get enough ramp early enough too, like you don't get the right draw. So not much can really stop it. It's pretty unbeatable.
Mm. On that note, it's funny you mentioned seeing what could beat Bombazar, because I was thinking about this the other day, and something that you guys might want to try and mess around with is forcing out the Bombazar and then getting rid of it. So your opponent basically loses from Bombazar's drawback effect. And
Yeah.
what I've seen happen is if the opponent is not careful, if you soul swap in their Bombazar on your turn and manage to get rid of it, if they can't finish you on their next turn, then they lose.
Yeah. Well, that's thinking outside the box, man. I like that.
And the
That's
same with Transmogrify if you're lucky.
yeah, yeah. Geez. Yeah, see, I wouldn't have even thought of that, man. That's very interesting. We'll have to look at that. I mean, Transmogrify is just such an incredibly hard card to find in English. I know Lewis has got a few copies, so we might have to pull that out of his Cosmic Darts deck and and yeah, give it a go. I mean, sounds interesting. But yeah, I guess thanks so much for your time, Jason. We really appreciate everything that you guys are doing to keep Duel Masters relevant, and keep up the fantastic work, and with your content, and we'll keep in touch, and hopefully we can see you on our shores one day as well.
Yeah, I appreciate you, having me on, and of course, I appreciate the support. Thanks so much as well. I had a lot of fun.
No worries, man. Take care.
Likewise, thanks.